What's up, y'all? My name's Tim Ream. I'm here today on the 87th day of the spring cut. I'm gonna be doing chest and calves today. Kind of been neglecting calves over the last week a little bit, so I want to make sure I really blast them. They'll be at the end of the workout. There's not going to be any changes as far as how the chest routine goes. Just going to make sure I keep really slow and controlled. Good pause in the deep stretch, good contraction at the end. And, I'm going to try to, I really feel like taking these workouts that I'm doing just kind of hard and heavy, especially on those last sets. So I'm going to try to really push myself today. That being said, I'm all set up, so I'm going to get right into it. We're going to start over here on the standing incline flies. We're going to take pretty much just as many warm-up sets as we need to until we feel like we're actually warm, and then get right into those heavy sets.
2, 1. And we're What's happening, man? How are you?
I'm cool, man. Up here in LA.
It's nice to meet you in person. I've seen you in magazines.
Yeah.
I've seen you since, man, when did you first burst onto the bodybuilding scene? What year was that?
I was reminiscing today. First time I came out here was 1990 to Gold's Gym. So I came from UK to do my first professional bodybuilding contest. It was called Night of Champions in New York. And I got second place there and made a real big impact. And the Weeder company that used to be based out here with the Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness and
They're
all
right
that
down the
stuff.
street.
They used to be. I don't think they are anymore.
No, it's all closed down.
Yeah.
There's a fence around it and everything, but that's less than a mile away from here.
Yeah, the Weeder offices are out there, and Weeder was a big name in bodybuilding, the magazines and everything. So they flew me out here. Did my first photo shoot at Gold's Gym, 1990. So yeah, 27 years.
It's kind of weird because since I've been doing that deep stretch and pause and contraction, just really giving it more, caring less about weight and caring more about like proper form, I feel like I've actually seen just like within 2 weeks my chest grow a little bit bigger.
That's the key.
How did you develop your mindset? Was that something that you always had? Was that something that you developed as you were training?
I think it's something I already had, and I kind of left home when I was 16, so I was out on my own on the street, and you're either going to get smart and look up to yourself, or you're going to fall down. There's nobody there to catch me, so that was there from an early age, I think, and I was just very determined to do this thing that I felt I could be good at in order to change my life and change, the projection of my life, the people around me. I grew up on a housing estate in the UK. I had no education. I was in jail when I was 18. So I had all that. That was, people around there was like, I didn't want part of that future. I wanted to do something else. And I got this thing that
All right, those 2 warm-up sets I feel like we're good enough to get that focus and everything that I want. So I'm gonna go right into the heavy set on this next one. Like I was saying, it's day 87 of the spring cut, and I feel like I finally kind of hit a stride. I started out with not a very high calorie deficit. Realized I wasn't going to be losing as much weight as I would like to in the spring cut, so I dipped way down. And then, in a prolonged period, I got diet fatigue. Then I started throwing carb cycling in there, some higher carb days to kind of alleviate that. And so now, I feel like I finally kind of hit a stride to where I can tell whenever I'm starting to get depleted on some of my resources, I'll go into those high carb days, and then I can go right into that calorie deficit again. So I was working like, it's almost like really jerky, like a roller coaster would be. Boom, 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 boom. But now it's kind of straightened out to where it's kind of, I'm just kind of coasting, and I'm working with my body's rhythm rather than against it and trying to force it. So
that's all I did. That was all I did. I trained, I ate, I sleep, I studied. It's just all my mental focus was like loaded on that thing I was doing, nothing else. I wouldn't go to the movies, I wouldn't go to dinner. I got home after 11 because I got to be in bed at 11. That was, that was the regime that I lived for many years, and that's why I was able to beat other people that maybe could be argued they were more gifted than me, but they weren't willing to do that. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what I'd always read about you, and that's what like I said, that was like the impression that I always got, like what you represented is the pinnacle of extreme dedication.
Yeah, and study, on the internet then. Everybody's got coaches now and nutritionists. The thing that I feel, this was an I had to learn about training.
And on those last reps, or not the last reps, but that last set, if you can just really open that chest up and that squeeze, just the weight just bears that much more of that strain bearing down on it. Especially whenever you're standing back like that, and just open that chest up, it's right on that top shelf. Okay, we're gonna go over here to machine incline press, hit a warm-up set or two, and then get right into the heavy set to failure. One thing about this whole dietary aspect is I was working at not really my body's natural rhythm, and I'd have like some cheat days in there, and then the next day, then I'd go really low in the calorie deficit to kind of offset it and average those calories out. And the thing is, I call that kind of the crime and punishment stage, to where you're like doing, you're like indulging a little bit, not like super high in calories, but high enough to where, it'll knock you off. So you gotta average it out. But the thing is, like, whenever you're depleted of all your resources, that's whenever you're the most hungry, that's whenever you're really gonna be craving food. So if you can offset that with meals and stagger them right, and have the right proper nutrients in there to begin with, then you're not gonna be getting as hungry and not gonna be craving food near as bad. So it's kind of a way to alleviate those potential cheat meals or whatever by preemptive, attacking it, I guess, with the proper nutrients and all that stuff. And those higher carb days, because then your body's not going to be sitting there just wanting and needing it. So it's just kind of, for me, and probably really a lot of other people, it's probably going to help you. If you actually just give your body what you need instead of just like, I'm going to try to be strong here. Like you're trying to be strong in a weak type of environment, so it doesn't really make sense. But it's taken me, 87 days to really kind of figure out the rhythm and kind of get into a good motion. I'm going to start out heavier than I usually would.
I was doing average 45-50 minute workouts probably 4 times a week.
That's it.
That was it. And everybody say, well, that's it. I write on a piece of paper, what the fuck is that? That's nothing, man. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and tell me if you want to do more when I'm finished. Nobody has ever said, oh, please can we do some more? They're like, no, that's it, that's enough. Because every set, bar the warm-up sets, you gotta warm up, to be safe and everything. But the real sets, I call them, we're gonna go through.
Kind of did a little bit of kind of a light deload this last week involuntarily, just because work's been super slow, so I don't get a second workout in or whatever. But the thing is, I've kind of neglected calves on that within my rotation. And the benefit of doing all of this stuff on film is I can look back at previous times within this whole 90 days that I've been in and say, okay, I backed off on volume here, or I traded a technique here, and you can see what both of those techniques look like in a 2-week span and start to actually look at it visually and say, I think that was more beneficial for muscular growth. So I'm gonna go back onto the platform for calves, which, up on a platform you can get higher, like lower into that deep stretch versus just setting your feet back and getting that stretch. So I'm gonna go back to that and bump up the sets to like 2 sets to failure and a couple warm-up sets. Basically just I'm gonna bump up a warm-up set or 2, just make sure the muscle's a little bit more fatigued before I get into those heavy sets to failure. So that is one kind of variation. And I think I was at 3 times frequency for the week on my calves, but just like 4 sets to failure on calves, anywhere from 3 to 4 or 5. And then I backed it off to like 2 sets a week and then like 2 sets to failure. So I'm gonna kind of maybe find a fine line in between the two, but I'm gonna bump it back up just a tad bit for the calves.
I noticed, that my shoulders getting a bit worse, my hips are getting, I'm like, hold on, is this serving me now? Why am I doing this? Am I doing this just to try and maintain something for other people, what they think I should look like?
Right.
And I kind of came to the conclusion, yeah, you are. Because you're not a bodybuilder anymore, you're not competing. Right. So if doing this kind of training is not really beneficial, making your injury worse. When you're 60 or something, you're not going to be able to lift your arms up or something like that. So it's something more practically. And I'm starting to do that.
And I've got a whole entire kind of new routine that I'm gonna go into whenever I start to do my bulk phase. I think I'm gonna stay in between that about 6 to 8 range, just very, very heavy fucking movements. I'm gonna probably throw some pull-ups in there, a lot of compound movements, and just really go for strength. And like I'm gonna do the warm-up sets so I can make sure they're pre-exhausted so the hypertrophy aspect comes in, but I just want to, basically just want to get a whole lot of heavy drain on my body while I'm in a good calorie surplus. Because this was trial and error year for me as far as the spring cut. I was losing weight, getting back into the gym. So I feel like I'll kind of hit my stride next year to where whenever I compare this year's photos in the spring cut and bulk compared to next year's, it'll just be 100%. I mean, it'd be like night and day difference. I already know it will be. Because I know, even though I've still got some weight to lose, I feel like I'm depleted muscularly with the glycogen stores. I feel like I could probably still be walking around with another probably 10 pounds of good water weight and glycogen while I'm still cutting. But that's really not the priority to find out where that cutoff line is. The priority right now is to get this fucking weight off from, 200 and almost 20 pounds. And I'm down to 157 pounds now. So I've lost a significant amount of weight. But that's what I want to take priority right now. And what is taking priority right now. All right, gonna move over here to dips. And I want to get to the point, and I think I might be there already, but to where I can do, I've been doing on my bicep days, I've been burning out with alternate curls, and then go over to the pull-up bar with a close grip, palms up, and just burning out biceps just for like one set after that. And I almost feel like I could do a one-arm pull-up. So I'm wanting to test that out. I haven't really prioritized it, but I have a feeling, because I've been doing so many pull downs and pull down movements for lats in like the 230 and 250 pound range, and I feel like I'm about to the point where I can almost pull out with one arm. And actually, whenever I do my one arm pull downs, I'm doing like 130 pounds. And right now, like I said, I'm 157, so I'm really close to actual whole body weight with just one arm pull down. One warm up set here.
Now it doesn't really bridge the gap to the humerus, so it needs a bridge, and apparently there's a new surgery that they can make a bridge now. But I went to see a surgeon and he's like, okay, what's 3 issues here? Pain? Do you have pain? I'm like, no, not really. Have range of motion? Actually I got more range than the other shoulder, it's a bit loose. So the only issue with mine is strength and stability. And he wasn't able to give me 100% on whether the surgery would do that for me. I've had about 6 surgeries. I had a tendon reattachment here, about 3 on the shoulder, I had 4 on the hip, and I'm like, you know what? Unless you're going to tell me 100% that going through this, Renee, just let me know.
Now, is your situation very similar to what a lot of bodybuilders face after they retire? With just so much stress and strain on the joints and the back.
Yeah, well, Ronnie Coleman, who's Mr. Olympia after me,
He's such a serious
super strong. Yeah, he did a lot of really heavy squatting with also when he's getting ready for bodybuilding competition, basically doing power. Good idea. A lot of fusion, so his mobility and so on. Very limited in one thing. Several, so he kind of really had both his hips replaced.
Alright, just that pause right there in that stretch position. I keep saying this, but I feel like you induce more of that burn and stimulus in a paused out stretch position than you do in a contracted position. But if you think about it, you're just kind of holding. You can even lock out, but here, I mean, your muscles are basically at the mercy of the weight just stretching back, and you've got to hold that. And it's just getting all of those muscle fibers stretched and pulling and firing. And if you can just stay in that zone, real slow on that negative coming back up. And I can definitely tell I got a lot more stretching on my skin. This is weird, but I've been using the same deodorant for like years, dude. And I've never got like rashes or anything, but after this last shoulder or chest workout, where I've been pausing in that stretch position. Dude, I got up the next day and I could see where somehow that stretching exposed or ripped a little bit of skin, you know, imperceptibly. But I could tell where my deodorant had gotten underneath and in those stretched positions and was like a rash there. And I was thinking, like, why the hell would that be now? It was because I'm getting a deeper stretch and I'm getting like micro tears in my actual skin and my epidermis for that deodorant to get underneath and just kind of irritate it on the surface there. Kind of weird, but I'm pretty sure that's what that was. All right, we're gonna go into a cable fly, standing cable fly. You're gonna hit the lower part of the pecs there. Got really good stretch on the lower pecs with the dips. So I'm just gonna kind of drive it home with a set or two and yeah, take it from there.
It's a creation of Westside Marco, Louis Simmons.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Crazy bastard.
Yeah.
Louis Simmons created this machine that when you lift your legs up, it strengthens the back, and on the down, when it swings down, it's active decompression.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
phenomenal for disc issues. It's like active decompression plus strengthening together. I have one back here. I love it so much.
That's right. So
Yeah, there it is like this. You can see it up here. We've talked about this so many times. People would think this guy's like hired me to endorse the product, but it's an amazing product.
The reverse of the
Yeah.
hyperextension.
All right, you go up weight just a little bit on this movement. Nothing too drastic. Still want to make sure I stay focused and squeeze on it. I'm gonna try to find kind of that fine line in between. I'm focused, I can get that deep stretch, but I'm still operating right on the verge of where my body can handle that in a good, isolated, contracted way. And this is heavy as fuck still, so I'm gonna try to still be operating it at a heavy of a weight as possible, just to give it that much more stimulus. At least that's where my mind goes with it. Operating on that cutting edge.
We didn't know anything. And when I got an injury, and I live in England as well, there's no sports medicine doctors dealing with, you know, strength athletes or so on. So I just go to the doctor and be like, lifting weights? Stop doing that shit. Why are you lifting weights? Pills. And you know, that's it. You know, so we have much more information, much more, you know, therapists and so on. There's a lot more available now, and a lot more knowledge that we didn't really have. That's the main thing. You neglect some of the smaller supporting muscle, I think, when you're doing major bodybuilding.
All right, do one more finishing movement for chest, just to drive all that work home we just did. Do one more set of dips and that's it. We'll just do it the same way we just did. You know, I was listening to a Mike Mentzer tape, and he was talking about him training Dorian Yates, and he was saying that he supervised him on a bicep workout where they just did one set of preacher curls and basically went all the way till failure. And then whenever he got to failure, Mike helped him into the contracted position where he just literally fought the negative in a static hold for like 15 seconds all the way down. And he was like, Dorian said he liked the way it felt, and he basically left after that. Then the next day, he came back in, and he was looking for Mike, and he's like, dude, I swear to God, my biceps got bigger just from yesterday. And I don't know if you guys have ever like had a workout, and the next day you get up and you're like, I swear to God, my arms are bigger. And I feel like it comes from a lower volume. But if you actually do the workouts right with like a low volume, heavy weight, and you go to failure properly, then I have seen those times where you get up the next day and you're like, damn, I'm fucking bigger, I can tell I am. And so I'd like to find that fine line again between the right amount of sets and like, damn, you can actually see progress from one day to the next. And most people might say that's not possible, but it actually is possible. And if you're not seeing progress in a week or 2 or 3 weeks, then you're not going to see it after a month or a year. So, I mean, there should be some sort of instant feedback that you're getting from one workout to the next or from a day or two to the next. And it'd be like strength increases where I can do more reps on this weight, or I look bigger, like some sort of feedback to let you know you're on the right course. Because technically your body did overcompensate if you did it right. So you should see some sort of increase in something somewhere pretty much right off the bat. All right, 1 set to failure on this, target in the lower part of the chest there. And I'll do 1 set to failure and be done with chest.
The first one when I'm like 21 years old, it's a bit childish with the comments on it. It's like, you know, I felt shit today, this was a shitty workout. Never fucking let this happen again. You know, all this stuff I'm talking to myself. So I get all this and then I go back and look at it sometimes, and it's weird because I can go back to 1988. And I can look at it and I look at that workout. I was in this gym, I was training with this guy, and I can even like wearing, and I can go back in time. Every workout,
Alright, I'm gonna switch the camera angle so we can do calves and be right back with you. Like I said, I'm gonna pump up the volume just a little bit more on the standing calf raises. That's not gonna be necessarily the more sets to failure, but I'm gonna do a couple more pre-exhaustive warm-up sets, just one maybe, just to help fatigue the muscle that much more for whenever I get into a heavy set. I'm also going to do it on the platform like I was talking, get a good stretch. I kind of abandon it a little bit because I feel like you have to reset in the middle of that movement because your feet slip off. And so I was experimenting with time under tension the whole time on the flat ground versus on the platform. So I'm going to go back to the platform and just, you know, kind of keep the experimentation going. So start out with just 1 set of warm-ups here.
I had a nice physique when I started, you know, I had a nice physique, I had nice abs and everything. But I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to the max. I'm going to see how far, you know, how big can I get? How ripped can I get? How strong can I get? I want to go to the max. I don't want people to say, oh, that's a nice pretty physique. I want people to say, what the fuck is that? Yeah? That's what I wanted to do.
Well, you succeeded in that. You definitely succeeded.
Yeah, the guy that inspired me before that was Tom Platz. I don't know if you know Tom Platz, with the fucking freaky legs. And, you know, he was the guy when I started.
This is just like that chest movement I've been talking about. That deep pause in the stretch position. Try and mimic that here in the calves too. Just keep a good pause while you're in that deep stretch. Just to drive it home that much more.
It's very rare that someone's known very specifically for a body part. Yeah. Like Platz is known for legs.
But Platz made a whole career on the legs, and not only the legs, this passion he had for like pushing himself into the gym to the absolute maximum, and that inspired me to do that and try and take it even further. And that now is missing. That's not here anymore. Now, for me, the bodybuilding and the fitness industry, people are just really more concerned with the cosmetic, the look, and, you know, taking their pictures and putting on Instagram and all this kind of stuff. They're not really into, it's almost a spiritual side of it, you know, where you want to push yourself to that maximum and see how far you can go and how, you know, how far your mind can go into the pain and all that kind of stuff. That's not really there anymore.
Sorry guys, but I just ain't got much to say today. Been doing a lot of video editing, so getting up at like 5:30 in the morning, getting out here about 8. And so my mind's kind of really going on the editing. So by the time I get out here, I'm not as mentally prepared as what I typically would be maybe, as if I just started that off, you know, right out of the gate, getting up like, you know, like 45 minutes or an hour later. I'd be more mentally connected with it, but my mind's just somewhere else, man. You obviously got those days where you're here more than you are others, and it is what it is, bro. You know, you do, the older you get, start to learn how to alleviate some of that by, you know, preparing the night before for the day ahead. And, you know, you learn by getting off track that being on track is the best way to be. So throwing new things into the mix, like all this editing I'm doing, and I'm trying to juggle the workouts, you're going to just have that whole trying to find your balance on it too. So just it is what it is, man.
Interesting, new or revolutionary in the training methods. It's just, you know, I don't really even talk about it that much now. Everyone just does the same stuff. You know?
Well, it was at one point in time when no one talked about it at all, right? Like it was, you would get the magazines and they would tell you to take creatine, and you could look like me, but everybody kind of knew. Everybody who knew people who knew people.
It was somewhat of an inner circle.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I started in the 80s, and I read the magazines, and you know, I saw a few things by Arnold and Mike Menzer where they kind of admitted they used something, but they very downplayed it. Oh, it's only the last 6 weeks before competition, just to give us that last polish and stuff like that. And I asked a few guys in the gym, and when I first started, they were a bit cagey, like, no, we don't do that. You know,
All right. It's kind of where I wanted to build up to, is kind of that last set. Before the set to failure, I'm starting to get kind of into the fatigue. Not really, like I get to the point basically where if I start to go any more past where I'm at, then I'm going to start getting into that failure set. So kind of just build that fatigue up to where it's good and built up, and then back off and leave the heavy set to failure for the next set. All right, bump up weight a little bit, and then we'll drive this one home for everything we fucking got. And I'll tell you what, replaying all this film, I realized how much I use the F word, and I should probably tame that down a little bit. Part of me is like, you know what, if you don't like it, think you can fuck off. Because if you can't even handle air coming out of somebody's mouth, then you probably can't handle much of anything that's going to happen to you that's tough in life. You know, there's a reason why they say war spelled backwards, well, why that spells raw. Dude, life is raw, okay? And I'm just the type of person that I'm going to live a life, and I'm going to deal with reality. I'm going to call things how I see them, because I feel like sugarcoating is just bullshit. And so I feel like, especially with kids and stuff, dude, I don't hold back anything. So part of me says, if you can't handle it, then you're weak. No, but part of me too is like, I probably should tame it down just so I could connect with that many more people. What do? You know? I want to help as many people as possible, but I want to do it in such a way where I don't have to change myself in order to do it. At least change my personality and start, you know, doing things that I typically wouldn't do. That's a no-no. So it's something you got to be mindful of when you're building a channel or audience or whatever. So, you know, just thinking out loud with it. All right, one set failure.
Here's the thing, man. Once you get on that merry-go-round, you don't want to get off.
That's the problem, right? And
You don't want to get off because you took some stuff, you know, you got bigger, you're getting more attention from the girls now. Guys got more respect for you. Your self-confidence is up. You don't lose all that, man.
Well,
I'm not speaking personally because I took it for a competitive sport, and when I stopped, I stopped. That was it.
But that's my question. Like, how did you just accept the fact that you're no longer a superhuman-looking freak show of a man? Now you're a regular man.
My whole thing was, see, with bodybuilding competition, I never showed my face. Absolutely, we're in a basement in Birmingham, in the middle of England, but you know, it's not exactly a hotbed of bodybuilding activity. No beaches or nothing. It's an industrial city. So I just locked myself away there and worked on this project, and I love doing it. I love like just being in that tunnel, you know, and seeing what I could do. And obviously, the further you get along, the more difficult it is to kind of improving.
Alright, call that our warm-up set, and then we go pretty quick into this set to failure, and then we'll call her good. You know, also, like I said, I was comparing, you know, calves from kind of the earlier days I was doing them with higher volume on the platform to the days I was doing with lower volume, no platform. But also a variable in there too is I'm doing a spring cut, so they're going to have as much fat build up either, so it might not look as big. So there's a lot of different factors you actually got to consider when you're doing all this stuff. That's one of the early things that I neglected whenever I was younger, and it was, okay, I can just come into the gym and lift weight and I'll be good. But if your dietary aspect in there, you don't have the right amount of rest days, you didn't get rest at night, you didn't eat enough, all of those factors are just as big and contributing factors as coming into the gym and stimulating the growth. And how many sets am I doing? Am I doing too much? Like, that's a factor too. So there's probably at least 3 to 5 major factors in there to stimulating and actually building, you know, that I didn't see beforehand, just as me cutting down is a factor visually whenever I'm looking at my calves. So just something you gotta consider. All right, this is gonna be the heavy set to failure here.
Line back, and I think a lot of athletes that retire from sport, they have the same issues.
It's a giant issue with fire.
You know, you've got this fucking tunnel.
Yeah.
It's almost like being a wall, like it's stressful, but you know, you've got this roll and this thing that you're just aiming for all the time, and now it's just gone. Like, who are you? What? That's all it is, you know. So it took me years to kind of, you know, come to peace with that. But it wasn't about losing muscle. It was about losing my
And one thing you got too is, you know, whenever you go into your spring cut, you're gonna lose some strength, because by definition you don't have the calories to maintain what you were doing beforehand, and so it can deter people from actually doing it. But the thing is, whenever you actually do the spring cut and then you get to where you want to be, you know, you're ripped, all that shit, and you turn that corner into a calorie surplus, you're going to regain a lot of that strength very, very fast. And the reason I bring that up is because whenever I was talking about diet fatigue, kind of those rhythms that I went through in the early days whenever I just started the spring cut, now that I've noticed, since I'll throw a couple higher carb days in there, dude, I'll start regaining strength within, you know, day 2 or even day 3 of the higher carb diet. And I notice that strength comes right back. And it's just kind of weird how that actually happens when you give your body the proper fuel. But anyways, guys, that was day 87 of the spring cut. You got chest and calves. I appreciate you guys who are following along with me, engaging with me in the comments. If you guys like the way that I take you through the workouts and the way that I break them down, I just ask that you would please share, like, and subscribe. For you guys who don't like it, that's all good too. We'll part as friends. I have left my email in the About section on my YouTube page. So if you guys want to reach out to me, have any questions, or want maybe like some diet plans, or just help with your, you know, workout regimen or whatever, I'm going to start extending some of my knowledge to you guys. So yeah, that's where you hit me up. And yeah, that was day 87 of the spring cut, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right.